The story begins with Kuichi sitting in his class, remembering how he used to get bullied for always drawing thick anime girls, due to which he has now switched to watching thirst traps on Instagram. Soon after, a hot blondie calls him an otaku, surprising him as he can't believe such a baddie is talking to him. When he questions if she's talking to him, she agrees. This makes him remember that her name is Nari, and she sits diagonally behind him. When Kuichi tries to correct her and tell her his real name, she ignores him and questions if he was drawing girls in class again. Realizing that he's been found out, Kuichi freaks out and realizes that the diagonal view allows her to see his desk. He always thought that a girl like her would be playing on her phone and ask Nari what it is she wants. Turns out all she wants to show him are her new nails, but all Kuichi sees is the nails resembling that of a wicked witch. Not knowing what the proper reply might be, Kuichi tells her that it's a pretty unique design. This results in her pulling out her phone and showing him what she was trying to copy. Turns out even Kuichi seems to admire how pretty they look, while Nari mentions that she can't seem to make her nails look good. Suddenly, an idea pops inside her head, and knowing that he's good at drawing, she asks if he could do this for her. Kuichi freaks out and mentions that there is no guarantee that he might be able to pull that off. But when Nari pleads with her mountaintop exposed, Kuichi begins to second-guess his answer, but ends up putting this thought aside. After putting some serious thought into this, he figures that lacquer paint must have been used to draw nail art. Just when Nari thinks that he might refuse, Kuichi surprisingly accepts. This causes Nari to be overjoyed and grab his hand to express gratitude. Additionally, Kuichi makes her promise not to tell anyone about his drawing hobby, to which she agrees. With that being said, Nari begins taking off her nails, causing the virgin to think that she's ripping them off. Additionally, this disappoints him a bit as his dream to paint while holding her hand went down the drain. In order to send him the design, Nari asks for his Instagram, but as he doesn't use it, they end up exchanging contact information, which makes Kuichi realize that this is the first time his pathetic self has exchanged contact. That night, Kuichi decides to research nail painting, specifically about removing polish. However, the penniless peasant freaks out after seeing the price of polish remover, but luckily finds out that paint thinner could work as well. With that being said, Kuichi gets to work, and after 30 minutes, he manages to clean off the nail, later realizing that it was harder than it seemed. Additionally, he figures that his type of paint will be harder to remove and decides to ask what Nari thinks about it. The first message he types seems kind of stiff, so he rewrites it once again but still seems confused. Kuichi then begins to panic as his lonely bum doesn't have any female friends and decides to research using some manga. Suddenly, his phone rang and coincidentally, there seemed to be a message from Nari who let him know that she got out of the bath. Furthermore, she even sends him a selfie, causing the dweeb to lose his cool. Seeing that he can't ignore it as it already shows it as read, Kuichi decides to reply and asks her if it's alright if the paint of the nail doesn't come off. Luckily, this is exactly what Nari wants and lets him know that she's fine with it. Additionally, she asks how long it will take, to which Kuichi replies that as he already has a washer and a dryer, it should be done by tomorrow. Nari gets super excited after hearing this, and Kuichi lets her know that he will now start to paint and might be late replying to her texts. Following that, Kuichi begins cooking and carefully paints all the nails while Nari waits in anticipation. The next morning, Kuichi ends up waking up early and realizes that he's catching a train earlier than he usually does. After entering the class, he finds that Nari is already present inside. They both get shocked seeing each other come to school this early and end up making different excuses, keeping the fact that they were excited about the nails a secret. Nonetheless, Kuichi decides not to beat around the bush anymore and takes out the nails from his pocket, causing Nari to go into a state of shock. She can't believe that she can actually have them and asks Kuichi if it's alright to put them on. Seeing her panic this much makes Kuichi realize that she liked them, and after putting them on, she mentions how sick they look. Just then, another idea pops into her head and she decides to take a commemorative photo. While taking the selfie, she pulls him closer and afterward, all Kuichi can think about is the softness he felt. Following that, they both start looking out of the window, and when Nari notices her friend Riko, she decides to go and say hi. After she leaves, Kuichi takes a breath of relief and notices that sleepiness is starting to hit. Before long, his phone rang again, and this time, Nari sent him their selfie along with a text regarding how sweet he is. This is how the secret relationship between him and Nari started, but little did he know that it was not a secret at all. Since the stuff about fake nails, they have had few chances to talk. While she is the popular type, Kuichi is a simple guy, and the two of them are not close or anything. But that is what he thought as once again Nari appears in front of him to talk about something serious. Apparently, she has been waiting to get him alone after school all day. This makes the loner think that he might get to dominate some kitty and starts getting all nervous. But as expected, all she wants to talk about are the hairstyles in the magazine. Kuichi instantly agrees with her choice, as he is smart enough to agree with whatever girls say. Soon after, Nari mentions that she has a favor to ask and asks if he might be able to help out with her hair as well. Ultimately, she seals the deal with a cute head tilt, making the basement dweller freak out. In the end, he agrees to help her out and takes a look at the magazine where he finds a hairstyle named Half Up Dough. Nari mentions that she has never been good with stuff that involved twisted ponytails and noticing the model's hair. Kuichi asks Nari if she doesn't curl her hair. Nari replies that her hair breaks easily because she uses bleach, making him wonder if there is a way to curl her hair without damaging it. Luckily, he gets an idea and shows it to Nari, making her compliment his genius. She then suggests going to buy it right now and asks him to wait outside as she needs to inform her friend. Later, she apologizes to Riko for not accompanying her as she needs to go shopping with Kuichi. Riko questions if she means the dimwit in her class and adds the fact that he is a total weakling. Additionally, she mentions that he is totally gross, not knowing that that gross guy is standing on the other side of the shoe locker. Kuichi figures that he can't leave without passing them and begins to think that his getting close to Nari might cause her trouble. He then decides to call off their shopping trip when unexpectedly, Nari lets Riko know that what she said is really mean. Furthermore, Nari reminds her that Kuichi has done nothing wrong and that it is cruel to call him gross. Riko replies that she didn't really mean it and ends up running away after apologizing. On her way out, she runs past Kuichi and gives him the deadliest glare that poor soul has ever received. After that, he thinks how it should be easy for Nari to get along with her friend, but still she got angry for him. Soon after, he meets her at the school gate, and when Nari asks if he has a store in mind, Kuichi agrees. During the train ride, Kuichi is relieved that Nari is being her normal self, and knowing that she got into a fight with her friend because of him, Kuichi decides to be extra useful to her. Eventually, they arrive at the extension shop that is jam-packed, and Nari praises him for coming up with such a wonderful idea. But he is too busy thinking about how he could further beautify his body pillows with these items. Before long, Nari finds an extension that matches her hair color and asks Kuichi if this is a good idea, but he instantly disagrees. Following that, he gives her a lecture about how using different colors might be better and that the heroine she's trying to match has different hair color. Nari laughs at him for being an authentic weeb and ends up finding another extension which Kuichi also seems to like. The next day, everyone in school gets surprised seeing how pretty Nari looks and starts talking about how she's totally their type. After silently walking past the crowd, she begins to laugh and tells Kuichi that she's super popular today. Additionally, she thanked him for making it happen as apparently, a few hours ago, Nari called Kuichi and told him that she can't put the extension on even while looking at the magazine. Luckily, Kuichi agreed to help her out at the school, and they both came early to make sure her new look is a success. Back in the present, Kuichi mentions that Nari's usual hairstyle looks good, but this one takes up a notch, to which Nari replies, telling him that he's making her blush. Additionally, she mentions that the same goes for him, and after getting up from her desk, measures his height, saying that he is actually pretty tall. She also adds that standing straight up this whole time makes him look better. This causes Kuichi to let out a smile and think about how he is someone who doesn't pay much attention to appearance but wanted to puff out his chest earlier, considering the baddie he was walking with. However, it's actually a bit hard for him to maintain, and he ends up reverting to his usual posture, with a spine that has more plot twists than a Netflix series. Even though Kuichi's good posture didn't last, the distance between the two of them has started to shrink. A few days later, Kuichi notices the club recruiting members, and even though he knows that participation in club activities isn't mandatory, Kuichi plans to join the arts club to make some otaku friends, as he hasn't made a single friend since school started. The only person who talks to him is Nari, but still he isn't sure if that could be called friendship. Furthermore, he begins to think that he is only a useful classmate for her when out of nowhere, Nari appears, telling Kuichi that she needs him to come with her. With that being said, the two of them peek inside Riko's class, while Kuichi mentions what they are doing seems pretty creepy. Soon after, Nari informs him about the girl sitting by the teacher's desk, and after taking a closer look, he realizes that it's the same girl with whom Nari got into a fight with. Before long, a boy appears next to Riko, asking if she saw the soccer match yesterday. Riko replies that her little brother wanted to watch, so she watched with him. Nari informs Kuichi that he's Yashida, the most popular guy in Class D. At the same time, the other girls of class seem to talk behind Riko's back and give her deadly glares. Just then, another boy appears, and Yashida begins talking to him instead while Riko gets back to the book she was reading. Suddenly, someone throws her book on the ground, surprising both Kuichi and Nari. It appears to be the same girl who was giving her the glares. She apologizes for knocking her book off, saying that she's built like a midget, so it was hard to notice her. Nonetheless, Riko gets down to pick up her book while the girl mentions how Riko is ignoring her, followed by her telling Riko not to push her luck, causing Nari to lose her cool. Eventually, that girl says her goodbyes and walks away while Nari begins talking about how that girl Kaneyama really pisses her off. Apparently, Riko denied it when Nari tried talking to her about it, which is why she wants Kuichi to come to her place before school. Later that day, Nari explains that she will invite Riko as well and wants Kuichi to give her a makeover like he did for her. This comes as a surprise to Kuichi, and he replies that the bullying might not stop even if they give her a makeover. Nari replies that some people look down on others because they look plain, which is why a makeover can be weaponized. Additionally, she believes that people can dress however they want, whether flashy or plain, and if someone doesn't want to, they shouldn't have to. But if a little makeover can help Riko, she wants to do everything to help out. Moreover, she can't just watch while her friend is getting bullied. She then reassures Kuichi that she has a secret plan and once again asks Kuichi to come over to her place. Kuichi wonders if she can't get it done without her help, to which Nari replies that if she did, Riko might transform into Shrek instead of a hottie. This makes Kuichi think that he doesn't have the best impression of Riko, and remembers that same thing happened to him when he was in middle school. Each time, he wished someone would step in, and if Nari would have been his friend back then, he might have felt more reassured. In the end, he agrees to do what Nari wants and help out with her makeover. This causes a smile to appear on Nari's face, followed by her saying that she knew he'd agree. The next day at Nari's house, Riko appears and questions what the slime-looking fellow is doing there. Nari replies that he came because she asked him to come over. Riko then asks about Nari's parents and gets told that they are on a business trip. Additionally, seeing that it's 6 a.m., she asks if they both were together all night, causing both of them to instantly disagree. Nari then reminds Riko about the makeover, saying that Kuichi will help them out, but all she does is prepare to go back home. Afterward, Nari shows how lovely Kuichi made her hair, but Riko replies that it doesn't mean she'll let him style hers as well. When Nari begins to plead, Riko ends up agreeing and sits down on the cushion, calling out Kuichi's name and saying that she will never forgive him if he did anything weird. Kuichi agrees, and while Nari starts finding the stuff required, Riko begins to wish that Nari would stay out of it. Furthermore, she notices that Nari's hairstyle looks pretty cute and that she can accept it if he's only going to style her hair. Nari then notices that the straightener he's using is pretty small, wondering if he uses it to straighten the hair down there. After that, Kuichi questions if he can borrow her cosmetics as well, which comes as a surprise to both the girls. Nari questions if he's planning to do her makeup as well, to which Kuichi replies that as it was a makeover, he thought it included makeup as well. Apparently, he saw a couple of makeup tutorials to prepare beforehand, causing Nari to compliment him for being the most reliable guy. Kuichi starts off by planning to straighten Riko's hair and asks Nari to borrow some hair clips. Meanwhile, all she can think about is how she's going to kick his baby jewels if he messes up. Kuichi tells her to let him know if it gets too hot, and she figures not to start a fight or she might end up burning herself. Soon after, she begins to notice that she is getting tired from getting up so early and ends up dozing off. Later, she wakes up to Kuichi calling out her name and looks at herself in the mirror. She can't believe the silky straight hair of hers and screams out of excitement, questioning how the hell did her unruly hair become so silky smooth. Riko then tells Nari that she had no idea her hair could change this much, and Nari gives all the credits to Kuichi for doing a good job. Kuichi agrees, saying he was a bit nervous when Riko ended up sleeping. Following that, Kuichi decides to now do her makeup and plans on using a gold base along with a peach eyeshadow. However, he gets stopped by Nari, who reminds Kuichi that this is a makeover, which is why she wants him to do the makeup of a fiery, strong woman. Seeing him look confused, Nari elaborates by asking him to thicken her eyebrows and use bright red lipstick, later showing him a picture of the model she wants to copy. Riko replies that this kind of heavy makeup isn't suitable for school and ends up asking Kuichi to decide what's best for her. As he already saw a bunch of makeup tutorials, he wants him to do whatever might look the best. This comes as a shock to both of them, and seeing Kuichi agree to her demands, Nari begins getting excited as well. With that being said, Kuichi starts doing the makeup and mentions that Riko looks pretty cute, making her flustered. Meanwhile, Nari decides to mess around with her clothes and begins undoing her buttons while rolling up her skirt. Riko yells at Kuichi not to look, but he still manages to sneak a peek. Following that, Nari mentions that they should pull her bangs to the side, but Kuichi believes that some freaks like emo-looking girls as well. Ultimately, they are done with the makeover and ask Riko to have some confidence in herself, saying that everyone in Riko's class is going to be really surprised. At school, all her classmates couldn't believe it if that's the same Riko, commenting on how they had no idea she was that pretty. Yoshida also mentions that he thought she was someone else and complimented her. Her classmates also praise her for looking like a doll, not knowing that it's all thanks to Kuichi, whose hobby includes playing dress-up with Barbies. Riko begins to complain that she's a little cold in this outfit, and in order to warm her up, Yoshida suggests playing football together. Seeing the commotion, Kenyama wonders what's going on and gets told about Riko's makeover. Simultaneously, Nari sneaks in their class and after grabbing Kenyama by her arm, drags her outside and pins her against the wall. Following that, she tells her to stop pestering Riko, and when she tries playing dumb, Nari mentions that Kenyama sees Riko as a threat because she likes Yoshida. This causes Kenyama to get all embarrassed while Kuichi quietly enjoys his first time seeing a quarrel between baddies. Eventually, Nari lets Kenyama know that it's her business as Riko is her friend. This makes Kenyama think that it might be unfavorable for her to pick a fight with a popular girl and ends up agreeing to never tease Riko again. After seeing Kenyama and her gang walk away, Nari begins to celebrate her victory. Kuichi asks her if he could talk to her for a moment as he wants to ask something. The thing Kuichi asks is if the makeover was really necessary as everything was settled by her confronting the girls. Narumi replies that Ruriko's outlook also changed along with her appearance and makes him look towards Ruriko, who is now smiling brightly. Apparently, this makeover has also helped her become friends with everyone in her class. She further adds that makeover is just a tool and what really matters is confidence. On the other hand, Yoshida looks at Ruriko, thinking that he liked her old hairstyle better. After school ends, Kuichi decides to go back home as he's really tired and thinks how today felt so long because he had to meet with the girls in the morning. Furthermore, he thinks how cool Narumi was this morning and that she was just as brave as a fart in a Zoom meeting. Afterward, he notices some students looking at the club recruitment posters and thinks about him wanting to be able to assert himself like Narumi. Then, he goes to take his shoes from the locker, only to be called out by Ruriko, who's standing behind him. Surprised, he calls her by her last name, Hymno, but Ruriko tells him to drop the Hymno stuff and just call her Riko like Narumi does. In the end, he agrees to call her Riko instead, and after hesitating for a moment, Ruriko thanks Kuichi for everything he did today. Kuichi replies that he wanted to do whatever he could to help, and just like that, the conversation dies. Just when he is about to ask if she wants something else, Ruriko mentions that she called him gross the other day and Narumi got mad at her back then. She regrets saying all that when she didn't even know anything about him and sincerely apologizes while bowing in front of Kuichi. Seeing Ruriko reminds Kuichi of how her younger sister apologizes, and as his sleep-deprived brain isn't working properly, Kuichi ends up patting her head, telling her not to worry about it. While he thinks about how Ruriko is an earnest person for apologizing to him, she gets insanely mad at him, scaring the daylight out of him. He begins explaining that she reminded him of her younger sister, and that he wasn't trying to receive a sloppy toppy or something. But to his surprise, Ruriko yells at him, telling Kuichi not to do that in front of other people, especially not in front of Narumi. With that being said, she runs away while Kuichi makes himself believe that he must be imagining all of this, completely unaware that her face was beet red. A few days later, Narumi invites Kuichi to a coffee shop, and when she asks if he has even been to one, the loner replies that it's his first time. Later, she notices that they are going to be stuck in line, and after giving Kuichi her bag, Narumi runs to the bathroom, asking him to get in line. Having no other choice, Kuichi joins the waiting line, and the person in front calls Kuichi someone with the ability to understand gals. After returning, Narumi mentions that she would have recreated Niagara Falls if she hadn't hurried back then, and talks about how hard it is to order at such a place. Following that, Kuichi compliments the drink she bought, and Narumi replies that she saw this going viral on social media and wanted to try it as well. Meanwhile, Kuichi went with the good old coffee as he was too broke to Narumi's one. While enjoying their drinks, Narumi talked about Ruriko making more female friends along with her request to make more nail art. Also, she wanted to try some new hairstyles as well, and without thinking much, Kuichi ended up agreeing to all her requests. Sometime later, Narumi unexpectedly asks Kuichi if he knows some easy ways to lose weight. She elaborates that she's not fat or anything, but as people show more skin in summer, she wishes to drop a few kilos. Additionally, Narumi mentions that she has been cutting back on sweets, but gets interrupted by Kuichi, who asks her about the number of calories her drink contains. He then begins to wonder if he should really tell her and ends up informing Narumi that it has the same number of calories as a bowl of ramen. Narumi freaks out after hearing this and tells Kuichi that she had no idea it had this many calories. This causes her to aimlessly yap about random stuff, only to later figure that her drink not only has high calories but is also loaded with sugar. Now, she doesn't have the courage to finish it, but doesn't want to waste it as well. Eventually, she decides to give her drink to Kuichi, which comes as a surprise to him. She insists that she's already full, but all Kuichi can think about is the indirect kiss. Realizing that he might hurt her feelings if he hesitates for too long and ultimately accepts her offer. Just when he is about to go for a sip, Narumi turns her head to the side and whispers about it being an indirect kiss. Luckily, Kuichi doesn't hear what she just said and starts to wonder if she still wants that drink. In the end, he suggests splitting the drink in half, and Nari agrees to only have one sip. After that, she hits him with the hair behind her ear, embarrassing the poor virgin. Even though he agreed that the drink was tasty, in reality, Kuichi was too nervous to even taste it. A few days later, Kuichi has gathered all the corn magazines, girlfriend simulation games, and anime waifu models as the week-long break is starting tomorrow. He plans to first watch all the anime he has recorded along with the manga. Then, he'll play the living hell out of his games and lastly will take care of his dolls. While he is confused about what he should do first, Kuichi receives a message on his phone. On the group chat, Nari asks if they want to go shopping tomorrow as she wants to check out some spring and summer clothes. Riko also receives the message and figures that it's another invitation out of the blue. She replies that she wouldn't mind finding something a bit more mature and asks Kuichi if he wants to go as well. However, the Brokey is well aware that it will cost a lot and decides to refuse, but gets asked by Riko if he even has normal clothes to hide his otaku side. When Kuichi agrees that he does, Nari asks Kuichi to show them what his normal wear looks like. Annoyed, Kuichi gets out of his bed and opens his closet, ultimately wearing an all-black fit to impress those baddies. But they couldn't have been more disappointed and talked about how his dress is still fully otaku level. In the end, Nari replies that people should wear whatever makes them happy, but also adds that he should wear those if he doesn't want to look like an otaku. Eventually, they force him to come along and ask him to let his sister choose his clothes. The next day, Kuichi is present at the shopping mall, remembering how he got roasted by his little sister who told him to just wear his school uniform. While he's depressed about how it looks like he's going to school, the two of them appear. Kuichi gets shocked seeing their outfits and thinks that the difference between him and them is unbelievable. To start things off, Nari decides to find Kuichi's clothes first and Kuichi lets her know that his budget is around 10,000 yen. He also adds that he sold one of his plastic models to gather the money, and when Nari mentions that he didn't have to do that, Kuichi replies that after he's bored with a model, he sells it to buy the next one. Riko also comments that 10,000 should be enough if he doesn't buy anything pretentious. Following that, Nari begins to brainstorm and suggests going to the store named Uniqlo. Kuichi instantly remembers that it's quite a famous place and starts shopping, but whatever he picks gets rejected by the girls. Eventually, Nari notices something and tells Kuichi that the outfit on the mannequin might look good on him. However, Riko disagrees, saying that it might make him look like a super nerd. Then, the two of them begin discussing how getting him some brighter clothes might work, and that they should buy something he could wear all year round. In the end, they decide something they both can agree on, and even Kuichi seems to like how it has muted colors. Following that, they both advise him to buy the outfit, and he agrees, saying that he will wear it for the rest of the year. With that being said, Nari mentions that it's their time to find some clothes and eventually find a shop where there are some exciting outfits. To his surprise, Riko says that he should try picking their clothes as well, to which Nari agrees as well. However, what she really wants is to mock him for the ridiculous outfits he'd pick. With that being said, Kuichi completely locks in and enters the shop. He then picks up the heels sitting in front of him along with some clothes and eventually appears in front of the girls with his choice. To start things off, he shows Riko an outfit that shows a bit more skin, and she ends up agreeing with his choice, surprised to see that he can actually give some decent advice. But after seeing the holes in that dress, Riko begins freaking out but gets told by Nari that it would look good. As for Nari, Kuichi tells her that she shows a lot of skin, so something more subdued would be better. After picking some more clothes, he tells them to try them on. While changing their clothes, all Nari can think of is if Kuichi likes simple style and Riko thinks how embarrassing it is to change so close to a boy. Soon after, the girls are finished changing, and the first one to come out is Nari, who gets complimented by Kuichi for looking like a noble woman. After that, Riko comes out and Kuichi also compliments her for looking like an adult with the face of a toddler. Apparently, both the girls seem to like his fashion sense as well and quickly realize that he's better at female fashion as compared to male fashion. Apparently, this weeb always chooses female characters in games and the quality of outfits in games, and for dolls has increased, because of which Kuichi has become an expert in women's fashion. Following that, Kuichi goes off to browse a little more, leaving the girls feeling anxious about his freaky hobbies. Following that, Riko checks the time and notices that it's already 3 o'clock. This makes her ask the others about what they should do, and Nari replies that they can't just wander around with all these bags. Riko suggests finding a place to sit down when suddenly, Nari gets an idea and mentions that they should go to karaoke. Riko ends up agreeing, but to her surprise, Kuichi instantly agrees as well. This comes as a surprise to her, and she gives Kuichi a confused stare, saying that she was sure a dweeb like him would only know anime songs. But Kuichi replies that it's common for anime songs to pop up, and he would choose songs that they might know as well. Later at the karaoke, Kuichi surprises both the girls with his beautiful voice, making them realize that he really is a great singer. Apparently, he also gets almost a perfect score for his singing skills. Nari then notices that he queued up a duet while he thinks about how his sister always cringes when he sings at home, which is why he can sing as much as he likes here. Just as he prepares to sing, Riko offers to sing with him, which ends up shocking him. Riko questions if he doesn't like the idea, and ultimately, the two of them begin singing together. While they sing, Nari enjoys and compliments them for being so good. After giving their all, they both are in need of drinks and Nari decides to go and buy some for them. After she leaves, the system gives them a perfect score for their singing skills, causing both of them to freak out as it's the first time they have seen a perfect score. Riko then suggests taking a picture before it disappears, and after they are done, Riko gives him a bombastic side eye. Additionally, she reminds him that they got a high score, saying that it's kind of special, and leans her head towards him. Kuichi instantly realizes that she is telling him to pat her head, reminding him of the stray cat that took a liking to him. Having no other choice, Kuichi begins patting her head, and she reminds him never to do this in front of Nari. As he continues to pat her head, Kuichi begins to think how long does he have to pat when suddenly the door of their room opens, followed by the appearance of Nari. She wonders why they are making such strange faces, and luckily, Riko distracts her by showing her the perfect score. She mentions how she has never seen a perfect score before and questions why Riko's face is beet red. When she asks if everything is okay, Riko makes an excuse and heads to the bathroom, leaving the two of them behind. Kuichi thanks her for grabbing him a drink and asks if she wishes to do a duet with him as well. But to his surprise, Nari asks if he was petting Riko's head earlier. Hearing this makes Kuichi lose his cool as he figures that Nari saw them through the glass. Following that, he tells Nari that he'd pet her too if she asked and wonders where this conversation is headed. Shockingly, she asks him to pet her as well and begins getting close to him. Meanwhile, Kuichi thinks about how hard it is to pet her and wonders how he should do it. Additionally, if Riko ends up seeing them, she's going to flip out as her secret will be exposed. Nonetheless, he decides to pet her and this time goes for the backside of her head instead of the top. As he starts petting her, Nari begins to enjoy it as well and eventually reminds him that he calls Riko by her first name, saying that he should call her by her first name as well. Kuichi agrees and ends up calling Nari by her first name, which makes her crack up. When Kuichi questions the reason, she is laughing. Nari replies that he was so nervous that she couldn't help but laugh. After they are done, Nari decides to ignore the fact that he was petting Riko and tells Kuichi that she wants to do a duet with him as well. Simultaneously, Nari thinks that she's so happy because it's the first time a guy patted her head, not realizing that she's so happy because that guy was Kuichi. Golden Week is still going on and Kuichi along with the others are enjoying every second of their holidays at the pool. Narumi praises Riko for being the GOAT as she managed to secure 3 free entry tickets to the pool. Additionally, she tells Riko that she is grateful to her mom and dad for giving them the tickets. Riko replies that she is just glad Narumi came as she thought Narumi would still be crying over her unfinished homework. This confuses Narumi, who questions if they have homework to begin with. Following that, she mentions that Kuichi is taking too long to change and Riko suggests moving closer to the changing rooms when suddenly 2 zesty-looking playboys appear out of nowhere, calling them sisters. She mentions that they are all by their lonesome and got some time to kill, but Narumi replies that they are not sisters but classmates. This confuses the boys, and they start to wonder if they are middle schoolers due to Ruriko's height or high schoolers, and she's just an oddball. Narumi adds that they are actually meeting up with someone, causing the boys to think that it must be another girl, asking them to invite her as well. Luckily, Kuichi calls out their names just then, reassuring the girls that they are saved. However, seeing his bare body sends them in a state of shock. They can't believe those belly bricks he's rocking, as the girls always expected Kuichi to have a dad bod. Surprisingly, those guys also freak out after seeing his muscles and run away as fast as they could. When Kuichi asks about the boys, Riko says that they were just some playboys, nothing to really worry about. Furthermore, she shifts the conversation to his muscles and Kuichi replies that a little while ago, he got into a weightlifting anime and started lifting at home, drinking all the collab protein shakes and everything. Meanwhile, Narumi keeps staring at his body and asks if it's okay for her to touch his muscles. After he agrees, she begins touching his chest and starts to enjoy how it seems to move. Afterward, Kuichi asks Riko to try hanging on his arm, and after she gets into the perfect position, Kuichi manages to lift her up. Everyone along with Riko is surprised, and she even asks him to spin around. Seeing them makes the kids ask their dads to do the same, but their dads, who are built like a 2-liter soda bottle, end up making random excuses. Narumi also seems excited and asks Kuichi to do it with her as well, only to find out that she is a bit too tall. Sadly, he refuses to do it with her and walks away with Riko in his arms, pissing Narumi off for showing Riko favoritism. As she continues getting frustrated, she eventually tells Kuichi to lean down a little, and without thinking much, he ends up doing what she asked. Just then, Narumi hops on his back, pressing her water balloons against his back and asking Kuichi to carry her as well. When Kuichi tries to remind Narumi that he can feel every detail of her melon, but after seeing her face, he figures that she knows exactly what she's doing. Ultimately, he agrees to do what she wants and ends up grabbing Riko as well. As he carries both of them to the other side of the pool, the same kids are left in awe and start asking their dads to do the same. Sometime later, they start swimming in the water and quickly realize that they are in the deep end now. Additionally, they make sure to ask Riko if she's doing alright, just to see her barely sticking her head out of the water. Due to this, Riko mentions that they should have brought Narumi's lifesaver along, and Kuichi decides to go and grab it real quick. When he asks where it is, Narumi replies that it's tied by the umbrellas. With that being said, Kuichi begins heading out of the pool, and just when he is about to pick it up, Kuichi remembers that the girls were being hit on earlier and figures that it would be safer if he sticks close to them. As he decides to hurry back to the girls, a girl calls out to him, saying that this might sound random, but she wishes to touch his muscles. Kuichi stares at her for a second and makes sure to look around, as he can't believe such mommy material is talking to this sad excuse of a man. She further mentions that she is interested in buff guys with baby faces, which makes Kuichi wonder if muscles are really that rare. In the end, Kuichi tries to refuse and mentions that he has to go, but the girl stays persistent. He then begins to think what he should say for her to leave him alone when unexpectedly, both the girls arrive, asking the other girl if she is Kuichi's friend. Riko adds that Kuichi is with them, asking the mommy to kindly back off. Realizing that Kuichi was with his friends, that girl says that it's cute how close they are and walks away after apologizing. After she leaves, Nari freaks out as she can't believe that girl acted like it was no big deal. Kuichi lets them know that she just wanted to touch his muscles, making the girls realize that he was definitely getting hit on. The two of them then look at each other and after grabbing Kuichi by his arms, begin dragging him back to the pool. Sometime later, Golden Week is now over and it's time for the midterm exams. As expected, Nari bows down in front of Kuichi, begging him to help her study. Seeing her bow, that deeply makes him wonder if she is that much of a tough spot, and he questions Nari if she got a bad mark on the quizzes. Nari agrees and shows him her disastrous exam result, saying that she accidentally used gal slang without realizing it in the test. Kuichi mentions that she can't be that bad at studying, but little does he know that Nari actually was a high achiever in middle school. The reason she has fallen so far has everything to do with Kuichi, as now, Nari spends all her day researching nail designs, makeup and other things that she wants Kuichi to try on her. Furthermore, she scrolls through social media until late night, which has made her prone to falling asleep in class, ultimately causing her grades to plummet. Nari mentions that their school is pretty lenient when it comes to clothing and hairstyle, which is why she chose this particular school. However, if she fails midterms, she's going to have to change her hair color back and wear a longer shirt, reminding Kuichi that it'll be because she's going to receive extra life guidance. Nonetheless, Kuichi lets her know that his own grades aren't that great either, but Nari replies that they are still better than hers and asks for his help as all her other friends are really busy. Kuichi lets out a sigh and ends up agreeing to study with her, which brings tears into Nari's eyes, and she ends up giving him a tight hug, letting Kuichi take the sniff of his life. She then begins reassuring Kuichi that she'll pay him back, while he stresses over the fact that there are still students in the class. As expected, the other desperate loners begin cursing Kuichi for receiving a hug from the baddie. Simultaneously, Riko peeks into their class and questions what the hell are they doing. Following that, they inform her about the study group, and when Nari mentions that they will study in the library, Riko replies that it's completely packed. Moreover, she suggests studying at Nari's house, to which she agrees and ends up inviting Kuichi as well. Riko can't believe Nari can invite him so easily, and that Weeb can agree as it's normal as well. To her surprise, she invites Riko as well, and she agrees to come as long as they both don't flirt in front of her. At her house, seeing her blank notebook stresses both Kuichi and Riko out, and he mentions that they need to meet on weekends as well. A few days later, Saturday arrives and Kuichi goes to Nari's house and rings the doorbell. Soon after, Nari, still half asleep along with Kuichi, opens the door, and when they ask about what Kuichi brought along, he calls it his secret weapon. After seeing Nari's progress, Kuichi compliments her for getting most of the questions right, but she is still stressed over the fact that she doesn't have the fundamentals down well enough. Nonetheless, she also cares about the bare minimum as her goal is to pass the class. However, Kuichi reminds her that if she messes up, she might need to repeat the year as well. Nari mentions that she's definitely not failing a year, while Riko reassures her that she will remain her friend even if she's held back, asking her to call her senpai from now on. Additionally, she hopes that her and Kuichi are in the same class next year, causing Nari to yell at them for flirting. Following that, the three of them continue to study for a while, and some time later, Nari gives up and begins complaining about how her body is about to break apart. Kuichi, realizing that Nari is starting to get bored, suggests taking a break and opens the cooler he brought along. While talking about how one needs sugar when using their brain, he takes out a jar filled with multiple fruits, calling it Macedonia, an Italian fruit salad. The girls can't believe how cute it looks and questions if he bought it for them, but hearing that he made it himself causes a chill to run down their spines. Apparently, the recipe appeared in a manga, so he tried following it, and even his little sister complimented how good it tasted. After reassuring them that he tried to be as clean as possible, he hands them over the spoons and lets them know that it has half the calories of the frappe Nari ordered the other day. After taking a bite, both the girls are shocked about how good it tastes and start complimenting Kuichi, saying that he can basically do everything. Afterward, Riko questions if he's not going to eat, and Kuichi replies that he only had enough jars to make 2. However, she doesn't accept this and tries feeding him some of it using her spoon. Additionally, she tells him that it'll be awkward for them if he doesn't eat, causing Kuichi to agree to have some. However, just in the nick of time, Nari yells at them to stop and reminds them that it's basically an indirect kiss. Riko replies that they are not in elementary school and that no one cares about that crap. Realizing that no one cares, she gathers courage and tries feeding some of her portion to Kuichi as well. When he begins to hesitate, Nari questions if he doesn't want to eat after me. This gives him no other choice but to agree and ends up taking a bite from her spoon, thanking her afterward. Riko notices that both of them are beet red and wonders if Nari was embarrassed about the indirect kiss. But she quickly dismisses this thought as Nari is always showing skin from chest to her legs. After they were done eating snacks, they all went back to studying, and with the help of those two, Nari ended up passing the test, only because she studied like a madman in an attempt to forget the indirect kiss. A few days later, Kuichi asks Nari if she is free this Saturday, to which she agrees, saying that she's totally free. She then begins asking if he wants to give her a reward for not failing the midterm. But all her excitement washes down the drain when Kuichi suggests studying at his place. Nari reminds him that they won't be having any more tests for a while. But Kuichi mentions that all she did was made educated guesses, and this time, she'd need to go over the basics again for next time. This results in Nari making an excuse about being busy this Saturday, but gets told by Kuichi that he might not be able to help her later in the term. Having no other choice, she ends up agreeing and asks if it's okay with his family, to which Kuichi replies that his parents are traveling while his sister will be staying at a friend's house. With that being said, he decides to go home, and noticing that he won't be going to the club. Nari questions about the club he joined, and Kuichi replies that he joined the second literature club. Apparently, he was inspired by Nari's assertiveness and finally decided to join a club. But when he first visited the literature club, the vice club leader told him that they only cover serious work like poetry and novels. Furthermore, anime is the domain of the manga research club, but she doubts they are accepting any new members. She then informs him about a second literature club that is tailored with crazy fan stuff, and only 2 first years have kept it going till now. Hearing about a club run by first years shocks Nari, and Kuichi add that they both are kind of eccentric, but they all are into the same things. Eventually, Kuichi walks away, but leaves Nari curious about the second literature club. Following that, she walks around the school and eventually comes across the second literature club room. After taking a look, she thinks about how it looks like a storage room, and just when she tries to open the door, a loud noise catches her attention. Apparently, it's the weebs who fell onto the floor and are now reassuring her that they were surely not looking at the pictures of hot Latinas. While she is beyond shocked after experiencing this, one of them tells the others not to be shaken up, as this club is a sanctuary for hidden otakus, and that they could simply claim that looking at those pictures is part of their club activities. Nari begins to think that they are anything but hidden otakus, as their stench is more persistent than Naruto filler episodes.
What the hell is even that?
Eventually, she decides to make her presence known and tells them that she came to ask about otaku. Both of them freak out, thinking that she is calling them otakus, and start discussing how it's like something straight out of a light novel. Nari then tries explaining herself and asks for their names. This results in the whale introducing himself as Hamchop, while the predator-looking dude introduces himself as Engine. Hamchop then elaborates that they use these slangs to show respect to the beloved early 2000 Akihabara, saying that it's pretty popular among gals. Meanwhile, Nari begins to think how this club is even weirder than she expected, and asks them about Kuichi. When Hamchop agrees that he is a member of their club, Nari replies that she wants to talk to them about Kuichi. Eventually, Saturday arrives and Kuichi makes sure to clean all the white sauce stains all around his house. He also makes sure that all the anime body pillows and Playboy magazines are well hidden. Following that, he begins to regret inviting a girl to an empty house, but reassures himself that a baddie like Nari won't be interested in a loser like him. Just then, the doorbell rings and Kuichi runs to the door, where he finds Nari standing with a smile on her face and a suitcase by her side. Noticing the suitcase, Kuichi starts thinking if she is thinking of staying the night, but Nari mentions that she wants to change her clothes and wants to do it right here. Furthermore, she pushes him outside the house, saying that she will let him know when she's ready. With that being said, Nari closes the door, leaving Kuichi to wonder if girls go to other people's houses and immediately change. Soon after, she tells him to come inside, and when he opens the door, Kuichi sees Nari in a maid dress, welcoming him home by referring to him as her master. As she stands there looking really excited, all Kuichi can say is that he's pretty lost. Additionally, he asks the reason she is dressed like a maid, wondering who put this idea into her mind. Nari replies that it was Hamchop and Engine, as when she asked them the best way to thank Kuichi for his help, they told Nari to dress up as a maid. Nonetheless, she has already decided to serve him today and is already trained, as those two made sure to show her all the categories on the hub containing maids. Deciding to roll with it, Kuichi decides to make a random request and asks Nari to rub his shoulders when they are done studying. She instantly agrees and asks him to sit down, but gets reminded that it'll happen after they are done studying. The following week, Kuichi enters his club room and pins those two against the wall, making them realize that it's a classic romantic trope. Kuichi then confronts them for getting carried away, but Hamchop replies that he thought Nari might chicken out. Engine then inquires if he was alone with Nari in his room and begins asking him if something happened. This reminds Kuichi of that day when Nari was massaging his back, telling him that he's always hunched over and reassuring him that she will give her master a real good massage.
Yeah, boy.
Back in the present, while blushing, Kuichi agrees that something did happen, enraging the virgins. The next day, Nari greets Kuichi by saying good morning and asks if the groups for the field trip have been decided. Apparently, during yesterday's homeroom, the teacher told them to form groups of 5 to 6 students of mixed gender. As expected, it was a pretty tough ask for an introvert like Kuichi, but luckily, Aotsuka and some other boys asked him to join, so they are a group of 3 boys now. Nari also mentions that her friends invited her and suggests combining the groups together. Kuichi agrees and lets Nari know that he'll talk to Aotsuka and the others to see if they are cool with merging the groups. With that being said, the first years of their school leave for their very first field trip. However, during the trip, Nari doesn't seem really impressed by the local castle ruin tours they have been doing. Aotsuka also mentions that they have a ton of free time before they meet up with the others and begins complaining about how this field trip is too poorly managed. The other group members comment that other classes have been doing proper trips, as Riko somehow managed to go on a factory tour. Following that, Kamada invites Kuichi to the game center they are about to go to, but he refuses to go, saying that he already has plans to go shopping with the baddies, and Nari agrees, telling them that she will be borrowing Kuichi. With that being said, the boys leave, telling Kuichi to join them next time and later talk about how Kuichi is not only going with Nari, but with the Murata sisters as well. On the other hand, Kuichi asks the Murata sisters if they are okay with him tagging along, to which they agree. The Murata sisters are named Kenon and Shin. They are twin sister gals and Narami's friends. Shin then asks Kuichi if he doesn't mind, considering he has to go shopping with the girls, and before he can even reply, Nari jumps in and mentions that Kuichi is really essential for this. She elaborates that he has a superhuman sense for picking out gal stuff, making them wonder if it's a compliment. Nari replies that it's a big compliment and lets them know that both her nails and her hair are done by Kuichi. The Murata sisters mention that it's perfect, as they plan on looking at extensions as well, asking Kuichi to help them out. While he informs them about the store he went to earlier, Nari walks behind the three of them, giggling about her finally having the chance to show the sisters how amazing Kuichi is. She is fully aware that he might be a bit shy in the beginning, but will eventually get comfortable. Just then, Nari notices Kanon asking Kuichi a question and him replying to her without any problems. To her surprise, the sisters even begin getting a bit too close to Kuichi, and after thinking about what she just witnessed, Nari wonders if Kuichi has already gotten used to gals. She can't imagine him talking to other girls as she is the only one who he can talk to without being on guard. Furthermore, she thinks Kuichi has gotten used to loud and flashy girls because of her. Turns out that's pretty much true that Kuichi has stopped being afraid of gals, and the reason he can speak so freely with the sisters is because they are Naomi's friends. On the other hand, Nari notices that she is the only one being left out and calls Kuichi, telling him that she wants to look at some accessories as well. This makes Kuichi remember that Nari already bought a ton of stuff during the holidays and figures that she must be trying to show off more of his good sides so he can become friends with the Murata sisters. Due to this, he instantly agrees, and at the accessories shop, Nari can't help but be enraged as Kuichi is once again surrounded by the Murata sisters. There, he picks some cute-looking earrings and suggests gold ones for Kanon, while the silver ones for Shin. Luckily, the sisters end up liking his choice, as the earring goes well with their skin tone. Just then, Shin looks at the mirror and freaks out seeing the kind of face Nari is making. Shin then tells Kanon to look behind, saying that Nari doesn't look really happy, and that she's not even trying to hide it. Kanon figures that it must be because they've been hogging Kuichi and wonder if Nari likes Kuichi. In the end, they decide to give Kuichi back to Nari and come up with a plan to make this work. Following that, Kanon comments on how there are a bunch of people outside, saying that they might get lost if they walk outside the shop. To prevent this from happening, they then suggest holding hands and asking the two of them to hold hands as calling out for a lost person would be a pain. With that being said, the sisters make a run for it, leaving the two of them behind. Nari then apologizes to Kuichi for all the things the Murata sisters said and mentions that she doesn't mind holding hands as the sisters were right, saying that it'd be pretty annoying to get lost. Kuichi also agrees, saying that they might cause trouble for their whole group. Even though they both agree, Nari can't help but think that she is the only one self-conscious about holding hands, not knowing that Kuichi is freaking out just as much. In the end, she gives her hand to Kuichi, saying that she doesn't mind, to which Kuichi replies that if she's okay with it, then so is he. Ultimately, the two of them end up holding hands, trying their best to hide the feelings and emotions going through their minds. Kuichi then suggests catching up with the Murata sisters, not knowing that the two of them are actually spying on them and making sure to catch their reaction on camera. As the sisters decide to support the two lovebirds, Nari and Kuichi stress the fact that they can't find the sisters. After coming back from the trip, Kuichi is enjoying the movie he's watching and hears someone crying next to him. After the movie ends, he asks if she is okay, and the person who is crying turns out to be Riko. After that, Kuichi mentions how good that movie was and suggests doing it again, sometime, which comes as a surprise to Riko, as she didn't know Kuichi watches the same movie twice. When he agrees, she mentions that otakus are pretty weird. Later at the second literature club room, Nari can't believe that the two of them went to see a movie together, and complains to them about not inviting her, to which Riko replies that it was an anime movie and that she doesn't even watch anime. While they explain the circumstances to Nari, the weebs wonder when the second literature club became a hangout spot for outsiders. Following that, Kuichi adds that the animation and theme song was a complete banger, to which Riko agrees, while Nari stresses over the fact that she doesn't know what they are talking about. She then begins to think how going to movies together makes it a date, and that Kuichi is trying to get under the bed sheet with other girls, even though they held hands the other day. In the end, she smashes the table in anger, causing both of them to promise to invite her next time. However, Nari's gloominess didn't end there, as a few days later, she met up with Kanon in the hallway, who told Narumi that Kuichi has become crazy popular. Surprised, she enters the class and notices a crowd gathered around Kuichi's desk. The boys complain about them thinking that he was an otaku, just for Kuichi to take out his guns all of a sudden. Kanon also mentions that she never noticed his muscles because of the long sleeves and asks Narumi if she knew, to which she agrees, saying that they are pretty impressive when he takes off his clothes. Hearing this shocks not only Kanon but the whole class. Kanon questions if the two of them have already gone to Pound Town. Luckily, Kuichi jumps in just in time and informs everyone that he, Riko, and Narumi went to the pool, and Narumi agrees, later realizing what she just said. She then explains that she didn't mean it that way, and when Kanon says that she assumed because they are always together, Narumi replies that it's because Kuichi is really awesome. Meanwhile, Kuichi notices that Narumi is getting teased because of him and figures that he needs to attract the crowd's attention. For this, he takes off his clothes and reveals the packs he's been hiding, causing the crowd to surround him once again. Even though Narumi is relieved, seeing him surrounded by everyone makes her feel a bit lonely. After school ends, Kuichi notices Narumi standing by the main gate and asks if she's going home. Narumi also questions if he doesn't have club activities, to which he replies that they are taking a break due to the upcoming finals. Furthermore, he asks if she forgot her umbrella, and Narumi requests him to walk her to the station. With that being said, he takes out his umbrella and places it above her, letting her know that she might get a little wet as it's not big enough. Nonetheless, she thanks him for the offer, and the two of them begin walking away. To his surprise, Narumi begins sticking a little too close to him, causing him to notice how good she smells, and more importantly, he can see those honkers clearly as daylight. Additionally, he is more conscious of this stuff because of her light clothes and figures that she is pretty touchy, considering how they held hands the other day. While he thinks if Narumi does stuff like this with other guys, a few raindrops begin to fall on his shoulder, causing him to move his hand under the umbrella. But when Narumi asks if something is wrong, he refuses to tell, which makes her believe that he might not want to share an umbrella with her. Additionally, she mentions that he doesn't have to put up with it just because he is nice. However, Kuichi replies that if he is nice, then Narumi is even nicer, which catches her by surprise, but Kuichi comments that he has always thought about it. As he is an otaku, many people used to think he was gross, but Narumi doesn't look at him that way. It's all thanks to her that he is able to talk to others without them being grossed out. Just then, Narumi interrupts and disagrees, telling Kuichi that he is not gross as he has helped her out a ton of times and even pitched in for Riko's makeover, which makes him a good person. If anyone is gross, it's the people who treat otakus like that. Hearing this makes him smile, and he once again mentions that Narumi really is a nice person. After arriving at the station, Narumi tells Kuichi that she's going to the shop so they can part ways there. Kuichi, figuring that she might buy an umbrella, decides to part ways after saying goodbye. But after he leaves, Narumi thinks that even though she should be happy that he's finally able to become friends with everyone, for some reason, she's been feeling gloomy about it lately. After that, she takes out an umbrella from her bag, saying that she is not actually a nice person. The next day at school, Kuichi's homeroom teacher, Aloha, decides to return the tests, asking the students to come get them by seat number. After receiving theirs, both Kuichi and Narumi take a look, and after that, she taps on his back, asking how he did in the finals. However, he gets shocked after seeing the smirk on her face and realizes that she wants him to ask about her result as well. Eventually, he asks her about her result, and Narumi proudly shows it to him. There, he finds out that she did much better and that her score is pretty close to the average. But in reality, they are no way close to average, and he's only praising her, so she stays motivated to improve even further. Just then, Riko appears in their class as well, along with her test results. Upon seeing them, both Kuichi and Narumi get shocked as Riko ranked first in her class, which makes Narumi wonder if she came to rub it in her face. After that, Riko asks Kuichi if he'd rather be friends with a girl who does well on tests or a girl who doesn't, while all he can do is laugh nervously. Following that, the three of them are on their way home and Nari mentions that it's time for summer break. Kuichi reminds her that before that, they have career counseling and need to prepare for the school festival as well. Riko mentions that they have the end of term to decide what they are going to do as they have summer break after. This results in Nari asking Kuichi what he wants to do for the school festival, to which he replies that he hasn't really thought about it. Nari suggests thinking about it together, saying that they should make it a huge success. However, an introvert like Kuichi was never excited for such an event, but if he tells Nari about it, he'd probably be sad, which is why he agrees to do their best together. Hearing them discuss the school festival makes Riko wish they were in the same class. Some days later, their class decides what to do for the summer festival, and the same day, the end of the term ceremony takes place. Now, there is only one more day left until summer break. That day, Nari asks Kuichi if he is free next Friday, and when he agrees, Nari mentions that her and Riko will be coming to his house that day. Following that, he invites her to walk to the station together, but Nari refuses as her and Riko have temporary part-time jobs. This comes as a disappointment to Kuichi as he's not used to inviting people, and begins to wonder why Nari is trying to make money before the summer break. Eventually, Friday arrives and the girls pay Kuichi's house a visit. After greeting them, he invites them inside, proud that it went without a hitch. After entering his room, Nari takes a good look at his bed and without hesitating jumps on it, shocking the two of them. When Kuichi asks what she is doing on his bed, Nari begins laughing and lets him know that she rubbed her scent all over it, so now he can fall asleep while smelling him. Riko tells her to cut that weird, perverted crap out, causing Nari to complain that she doesn't have to be so harsh about it. But little does she know that Kuichi is actually happy about it, but can't say it out loud. After that, he asks them about the stuff they brought along, wondering if they brought homework. But Nari refuses, and when she asks Riko to bring it out, she agrees. With that being said, they both take out a box, asking him what's inside, not realizing that any normal person can figure that it's a cake. Nonetheless, he tries to act dumb, allowing the girls to announce that it's a cake. This makes Kuichi wonder if they met up to eat cake together, but to his surprise, the girls brought presents along as well. They then wish him a happy birthday, confusing Kuichi and causing him to scream in surprise. Apparently, Kuichi's birthday is during summer vacation, so he's never celebrated with anyone except his family. Realizing that the cake is his birthday cake, tears begin forming in Kuichi's eyes, making Nari mention how he's a little too surprised. Riko then tells him to forget about the cake and check out the presents they bought. Nari brought him perfume, saying that as he bought new clothes a little while ago, this will take his style to the next level. After spraying some of it on his arm, she lets him know that the scent matches the one she's wearing right now. But all the degenerate can think is that Nari's scent on himself is very provocative. After that, it's time for Riko's gift, and she bought him some old, rugged Converse. She mentions that he can wear them all year round, and what surprises Kuichi is that she figured out his exact size, not knowing that she checked the shoes in his locker beforehand. Additionally, she also bought the same pair for herself, trying her best to think that she's not trying to match with Kuichi like Nari. Kuichi then asks if they are sure about buying these expensive gifts and asks if they get part-time jobs for time. The girls tell him to just accept the gifts as he usually does so much for them anyway. After they are done exchanging the presents, Nari suggests eating the cake, and additionally, Riko also brought cards to play. Ultimately, it is time for them to go back, and after planning to meet again soon, they both head home. After they leave, his fellow weebs appear, wearing what one expects such people to wear. Apparently, they also brought him a present even when he didn't tell them about his birthday. However, after opening the bag, all he finds inside is a maid costume. The weebs let him know that as a fellow club member, he should have won as well. Even though Kuichi acted like he didn't appreciate such gifts, he made sure to carefully put it away in the closet. Soon after, his mom returns home and after asking if his friends went back, tells him that she'll be making fried chicken for his birthday. After enjoying the fried chicken, he does his daily nighttime routine, and just when he lays on his bed, the thought of Nari rubbing her scent on his bed makes it difficult for him to fall asleep. It is now August 1st, and even though the summer vacations are going on, students are still coming to the school in order to prepare for the cultural festival. Kuichi also enters his class, simultaneously greeting everyone. To his surprise, everyone instantly gathers around him, asking Kuichi if he brought that thing along. Kuichi agrees, saying that he brought a small, medium, and a large version of examples, surprising his classmates as he managed to finish it this early. With that being said, he takes out a giant cloth from his bag, causing everyone to comment on how it looks just like a shinsengumi outfit. Apparently, before the summer break started, their class collectively decided to do an era of the Edo period cafe. The students seem to like it as that period is a manly point in time, while the others talk about them dressing up in costumes and serving customers. One of them mentions that they will need to wear shinsengumi outfits, but no one knows how they are going to acquire them. After searching online, they found out that those costumes are pretty expensive and unaffordable. This results in Nari asking Kuichi if he is able to make clothes, and unluckily, the rest of his class ends up hearing her say this. Kuichi lets Nari know that he only makes clothes for his dolls, to which she replies that if he can make them for dolls, making them for people shouldn't be a tall task. When his other classmates ask Kuichi about it, he replies that he hasn't made clothes for people, so he wouldn't be able to do it for everyone. So if they were to do it, everyone would have to sew the clothes themselves. To his surprise, that's more than enough, and all they want Kuichi to do is to teach them the basics. While they discuss the outfits, Nari seems proud to be the one who brought Kuichi to light and tries acting tough, only to notice the crowd around Kuichi rapidly increase, not giving her the chance to talk to him, ultimately pissing Nari off. This is how he was made in charge of the costumes and manages to get it done after half a month. One of the boys begins complimenting Kuichi for being amazing, and he adds that making the hakama might be tough, but gets reassured that the rest of class will handle it. Apparently, they will be able to borrow a few of them from the kendo club, and the girls from the archery club will give them a hand as well. The conversation about girls makes Kuichi realize that he hasn't seen the hotties around and gets asked if he's specifically looking for Nari. Noticing them talk about love, the other boys start gathering around and begin asking Kuichi if he's going out with Nari as they are always together. Kuichi mentions that Nari is friendly with everyone, but one of the boys disagrees. He informs Kuichi that he's the only guy Nari has given a nickname to, and she doesn't get close to just anyone. Hearing this reminds Kuichi of all the times he got to touch those jugs of hers, and even after the boys leave, he continues thinking about it. Soon after, Nari enters the room, asking if someone was calling her, causing Kuichi to freak out. Kuichi then shows her the costumes he managed to make, and she along with Kanon instantly ends up wearing it. While she is discussing other things, she notices Kuichi looking at her and wonders if something is wrong, making Kuichi realize that it's because of all the weird things everyone has been saying. At the same time, Kanon notices the tension between them and mentions that she forgot to buy a few things to finish preparing. So, to fix this mistake, she asks Kuichi and Nari to go buy those things together. Even though he agrees, Kuichi can't get used to the atmosphere surrounding him. But just as they are about to head out, Ayaka, the class president, stops them, saying that she should be the one who should go with Kuichi. Furthermore, she reminds everyone that she has the responsibility of managing funds, and when she asks Nari if that's okay, she agrees while Kanon apologizes for not being of any help to her. 3 hours later, the boys begin talking about how those two still haven't returned and start to wonder if they are busy doing something freaky in private. Soon after, Nari notices the two of them through the window and tries to call out his name, only to see the two of them smiling and walking together, leaving her in shock. When Ayaka stumbles, Kuichi makes sure to catch her and later flexes his muscles. Narumi is left in disbelief after seeing them, and after Kuichi returns, he looks at Narumi and tells her that he's back. But to his surprise, she suggests going to the pool and later the beach too. Additionally, she wants to go camping and movies as well, but when Kuichi tries to say that they can't get through all that in a single summer, he notices her barely holding back her tears. Following that, Narumi yells, saying that she doesn't care anymore and runs outside, asking Kanon to come buy some food. Meanwhile, Kuichi is left behind, thinking why Narumi is in a bad mood and if something happened. How long do you think it will take for them to realize their own true feelings? Comment otaku if you'd like part 2 of this series. As usual, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.